Barbara. Thank you, Barbara Kroll. Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Wilmington, Delaware, to all of you here this morning in the sanctuary, and to those of you who are joining us on our streaming online service. A gentle reminder of those of you here to keep your masks up and to sing quietly behind them as we go through the service. We will be gathering afterwards in the parish hall, but still with no refreshments, and staying socially distanced, please. My name is Helen Foss, and I'm delighted to welcome you in my role as worship associate today. Welcome to you all, no matter the hue of your skin or the origin of your ethnicity. Welcome whomever you love and wherever you are on your spiritual journey. You are welcome here. If you're new to First Unitarian, I invite you to check out our website, firstuuwilm.org, to learn more about us and to sign up for our email newsletter. This morning, we welcome the Reverend Andrew Weber again to our pulpit. A UU minister, Reverend Andrew is a resident with his wife and 2 children in nearby Newark, Delaware. And in August, that's like tomorrow, he will begin ministry at Thomas Paine Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Collegeville, Pennsylvania. I'm looking forward to hearing him reflect on his sermon topic today, how many faiths stress how sinful we are, while the UUs insist we are all beloved. As he says, let us be challenged and be comforted. Now, let us prepare our hearts and minds for worship with this music from the lovely Linda Henderson.
Good morning. The music I chose for today is by the lovely Robert Vandal, and I became acquainted with this composer while I was reading this book, Piano Lessons by Noah Adams. You may remember Noah Adams as being the host of All Things Considered, the NPR radio show in the 80s and early 90s. Well, at age 50, Noah Adams decided he wanted to learn to play the piano. And as part of his journey, he attended a piano camp in Vermont. He really wanted to play in the recital at the end of the week, Traumerei by Schumann. It was just too difficult. He couldn't do it. And so his teacher suggested one of the 24 Preludes by Robert Vandal, who's a teacher in Ohio. And I really wanted to play these and share them with you today because Mr. Vandal had a gift for encouraging his students with love. These are very playable pieces for musicians who are beginners or early intermediate, but musically they're very satisfying. So that's why I chose them today. I hope you enjoy them.
Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision, but today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. Welcome. Come. Let us look to this day together. Come, let us worship together.
If you have a chalice at home, I invite you to light it now as I read these words from Maureen Killoren. In this free church, we come together without creed, believing that the way we live in the world bears testament to the value of our beliefs. We light this chalice as a beacon of hope for those who have gathered here this day, for all who have ever walked through our doors, for those who may yet find this spiritual home, and for those whose paths may never come our way. For all this, and for all those things we dare to hope and dream, we kindle our chalice flame this day. Now please rise as you are willing and able, and join in singing our hymn number 360 quietly behind your masks. Here we have gathered. Please join me in affirming our mission. First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is a beloved community that nourishes minds and spirits, fights injustice, and transforms the world through loving action.
Good morning. Our prayer today is responsive. The text, I believe, is above my head, but if you like something physical, feel free to grab a hymnal and turn to 519 in the back. I know sometimes it's nice to hold on to a book, and sometimes it's nice to see the words right in front of you. I will start with the first voice, and if you'd please respond with the second. Let me not pray to be sheltered from dangers. Let me not beg for the stilling of my pain. Let me not look for allies in life's battlefield. Let me not crave in anxious fear to be saved. Grant me that I may not be a coward, feeling your mercy in my success alone. Please join me with a time of meditative silence. We come together each week for ourselves, but also for others. This time is a holy time, whether you're watching live or later. It's a holy time, connected by technology, connected to those around us, even distanced physically or distanced with masks. We are together still. Together in our thoughts, together in our feelings. And as is our custom each Sunday, we take a moment to remember those who are in our hearts, those who are celebrating, those who are mourning, those who are hurt or in need. It may be you who's in need of healing and calming energy, or your loved ones may be heavy on your heart today. There may be a friend who could use a hug, or you may be joyous and excited. Your family may be happy, healthy, and together. There might be a friend who is celebrating. So whether for yourself, for a friend, for a family member, for an acquaintance, this is the time to bring special attention to those in our lives. So let us lift up and remember the overabundant joy, the happiness which comes pouring out of all life. And let us also recognize that deep sadness and heartache which must also be shared. Through our thoughts and actions, happiness is increased and sorrow lessened. Take this moment to speak aloud or hold silently in your mind those who are in your heart today. Bring them light. Hold them dear. Amen. Let us now have a time of musical meditation where we continue to remember those who have been called into this special and holy time. so much. This morning, I did bring a reading. It often happens that I don't know whether I'm going to or not until the last minute. And although John is fantastic, I don't think he wants a phone call at 3 a.m. saying, hey, you know what? Can we switch the slides? My reading today is written by Anne Frank, memorialized by her father in her diary. Anne wrote this on July 15th, 1944, a month after her 15th birthday and less than a year before she was killed. Anyone who claims that the older ones have a more difficult time here doesn't realize to what extent our problems weigh down on us. Problems for which we are probably much too young, but which thrust themselves upon us constantly until, after a long time, we think we've found a solution, but the solution doesn't seem able to resist the facts, which reduce it to nothing again. That's the difficulty in these times. Ideals, dreams, and cherished hope rises within us only to meet the horrible truth and be shattered. It's really a wonder that I haven't dropped all my ideals, because they seem so absurd and impossible to carry out. Yet I keep them, because in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. I simply can't build up my hopes on a foundation consisting of confusion, misery, and death. I see the world gradually being turned into a wilderness. I hear the ever-approaching thunder, which will destroy us too. I can feel the sufferings of millions, and yet, if I look up into the heavens, I think that it will all come right, that this cruelty too will end, and that peace and tranquility will return again. In the meantime, I must uphold my ideals, for perhaps the time will come when I shall be able to carry them out. Yours, Anne. I feel like there must be a pause there. Today I come with those thoughts and ideas weaving through the story I'm going to tell you. A story, not a narrative story, but a story of two theologies, of Unitarian Universalism and Catholicism. Both of these faith traditions have underlying theologies which I find very, very useful and also very, very harmful. It's through critical discernment of worldviews that we can grow in our personal understanding of the world and of our own beliefs. So these two religions give us great insight into what it means to be sinful, what it means to be loved. Two extremes of thought about the human condition. Humans are born wicked and sinful. Humans are born beloved and worthy. Those are tough and deep theologies. And of these two, I'm going to start with Unitarian Universalism. I mean, we are, after all, in a Unitarian Universalist congregation. Welcome, if that's news to you. And added to that is I'm an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister, and I grew up in this religion. So I bring both my personal experience and my professional training to bear. Unitarian Universalism is Christian in its history, but you'd be hard-pressed to call it Christian in its current form. There's no stated belief in the Bible, in Jesus, or God. As the opening reading by Reverend Krilleran said, we don't have a creed that we all agree to. Ours is non-creedal faith, which means that adherents don't necessarily hold religious truths in common. I mean, right? We know that. But we do share something, also mentioned in that reading. We share something, a way of being with each other in community. And as you well know, there are people who consider themselves agnostic, atheist, Jewish, Christian, unknown at Unitarian Universalist gatherings. Instead of a communal statement of belief, the UUA, our national organization, has 7 guiding principles. And we know this. And if you want to see them, again, if you have your hymnal, you just go to hymn number 1 and then turn back 1 page. And they're right there. The 7 principles. They range from personal worth to democracy, world community to stewardship of the earth. Neither the principles nor any other religious study are drawn from one source either. Inspiration for worship, inspiration for introspection comes from a multitude of sources spanning literature, personal experience, other world religions. I mean, you come here on a Sunday morning, and what will Reverend Larry preach about? It could span almost everything. And that's a very, very brief overview. One which may be new if you are fairly new to this community, but whether you're a newcomer or whether you've been part of a Unitarian Universalism for many decades, you may see a discrepancy in the introduction, because I said I was going to talk about 2 theologies. And first, the theology of Unitarian Universalism. So what is this theology I'm talking about if we have nothing held in common? Right? So even though some may argue with me, and that's okay, I said that there are commonly held beliefs. There is a theology of Unitarian Universalism. The first of our 7 principles is the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And it's not labeled as such, but that is a statement of faith. It's a statement of faith, especially in how that first principle gets lived in the world, right? It's how we live our faith, not what we say about it. We Unitarian Universalists, as a national organization, as congregations, as individuals, we believe, and we use that belief in the worth and the dignity of the individual to inform our deeds, to inform our social stances. Our faith is accepting and supporting of all gender identities and expressions. We uphold the rights of same-sex and opposite-sex love. We strive to dismantle racism. We support nonviolent witness and democracy as a way of bringing about change. That's theology. You are valued. You are worthy. You are loved. Unitarian Universalism is really good about that, about stressing the power, the agency, the importance, and the worth of each individual. We're really good about that. You're valued. Your voice is valued. Your opinion matters. It matters with respect to religious truth, religious opinion. It matters with respect to governance, how we make decisions. Your opinion matters with respect to everything. You are an important and a valued being, and what you say and what you do makes a difference in the world and needs to be heard and seen. That right there, that's powerful theology. The theology that there's a spark of the divine in each person. Yeah, I went there. The inherent worth and dignity of every person means that each one of us is important, that each one of us is holy. This is theology at the personal level, but without the theological language. Unitarian Universalists may never say we have a shared theology. In general, we might actually show more offense to the idea than agreement that we have a shared theology. And that offense at theological language is where my criticism of our faith starts. It's helpful to be critical, not come just taking everything, but with a discerning eye. Our communal focus is so much on individuality. It's so much on personal worth that sometimes we cater to unhealthy people. Each person is important. Each person is valued. It becomes very hard to hold each other accountable because entitlement is flourishing. It becomes the norm to tiptoe through every action and every discussion, not wanting to offend. When every view is seen as extremely important, the unreasonable sometimes is allowed rather than lovingly challenged. We risk making concessions for any single person, whether the rationale is valid or not, whether in language or in action. One person can often bring a discussion or an action to a speedy halt by voicing a strong opinion. Saying the term God is generally avoided because of those people for whom this term has a painful connotation. I'm speaking in generalities here. We may see this, we may understand it, but it happens. Just as negative is the mention of religion, church. Many of our churches are called congregations, societies, fellowships. Sin, redemption. Oh, do we often hear those? I don't. And there are numerous other theological terms. We eschew theological language because some portion of us are offended, are hurt at their mention. But a more healthy way, maybe to work through our personal, work through our communal pain and respond to those terms rather than avoiding and forcing others to avoid them. Right? And on the governance side, Unitarian Universalists, we can get into an idolatry of democracy. I don't know if you've seen this, but not in the sense that all decisions have to be unanimous, not that all votes are holy, but the view that if I don't see my voice and my opinion in every group decision, if I don't have personal impact on what happened, it wasn't fair, it wasn't right, or it needs to be redone. You may have personal experience with this difficulty. I have seen this. Someone expresses an opinion which is voted down or not followed by leadership. And that person whose opinion was not followed then feels hurt, feels ignored, feels undervalued. Right? Now, a more healthy way might be to talk through differences and either come to a consensus like the Quakers, or hold more lovingly to a process which listens to all, but does not bend to all, and makes decisions which not everyone agrees with, in a loving, caring way. Our Unitarian Universalist theology of personal worth can easily go to extremes. Extremes which make unhealthy actions possible and even promoted. My worth and value are important. My opinions matter. My faith is how I should live, which means I don't have to do any work around personal growth. I don't have to listen to another. I can do no wrong. I'm entitled to act and believe as I do because I have worth and value. Now, you may wonder why I'm spending so much time being negative about my own religious identity, because I hold my identity strong. I believe in it. Why am I being so negative about our faith? I believe that all theologies should be scrutinized, should be looked at critically, rather than followed without discernment. It's so easy to fall in idolatries of word, idolatries of identity, where the title we hold or the group we belong to becomes more important than what we are actually believing, what we are actually doing. So rather than following without questioning, it's theologically healthier and theologically more difficult to bring a critical eye. And we can get meta with this. Don't just agree with what I'm saying. Bring a critical eye. Don't just agree with what the national organization says, which in a strange and hysterical and historical way brings us to Catholicism. Because for reacting against a faith, reacting against what a faith is saying is exactly where Protestantism and then Unitarian Universalism comes from. Historically, our religion started as a reaction against Catholicism, and especially a reaction against the views of original sin and predetermination. That's the universalism. If there's predestination, it's positive, not negative. not born with sin. Catholicism is very heavy on sin, on confession. All of humanity is born into sin. We are all sinners, stemming from the capital F fall in the Garden of Eden, where the first ever humans turned away from and disobeyed their Creator God. There's nothing you can do. You are faulty, you are disgraced by what you think and by what you do, and by your ancestors and what they did. Jesus was crucified in order to make up for that, in order to make up for past wrongdoings, in order to make up for our wrongdoings. And only God can take away the universal stain of sin through confession and repentance. Oh, geez, wow. Oh, gosh. That's rough. Now keep in mind, please keep in mind, and take this with a grain of salt, that I am seeing this from an outsider's view. My outsider's view of Catholicism. So hear this outlook with a grain of salt, knowing my upbringing was very different. But from what I see in the faith, from what I see when talking to people who are currently Catholic, who have been Catholic and come to a different faith, I see an ongoing theological stress on sin and on unworthiness. A stress which can become unhelpful, become harmful. And this theology, it's almost a 180-degree shift from Unitarian Universalism and our view of extreme self-worth. Right? I mean, the theology that humankind in general, and you in particular, and me in particular, are a hopeless sinner. We will continue to act against the will of the divine. We have failed. We will continue to fail, and only God and the intercessors of priests, bishops, the Pope can help us find absolution until the next time we sin, which will be soon. When I speak with people from a Catholic background, there's one thing I find in common with all of them. They're all very, very good at feeling guilty and very good at experiencing shame. After years of being told so, we internalize that unworthiness, and it becomes easier to feel wrong and to feel guilty. Tell yourself you're a sinner often enough, and you will start to believe it. Now, I know, I'm being very hard on both of these religions. I'm doing that on purpose. The fact is, I think these are two wonderful theologies, but they have been taken too far. Unitarian Universalists have it correct. We have worth and dignity just because we are human. Catholics have it correct. We are sinners just because we are human. The problem is that both religions have taken these stances to extremes. Taken it to unhealthy extremes. Catholicism is too heavy on sin and results in shame. Unitarian Universalist, it's too heavy on self-worth and results in entitlement. A healthier path may be to walk in the center, to see the truths and the pitfalls of both of these religions. It's possible to stay in that center, to acknowledge both realities and walk the middle path, as the Buddhists might say, the middle path between those extremes. For the truth is, we all mess up. We all fall short, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And the truth is that we will always have value. We are always loved, and we are always worthy. Both Catholicism and Unitarian Universalism have it correct. But they need to get together. They need to get together and hear each other and temper their emphases. I mean, that's the point. That's the point. You are a sinner. You are loved. That's the point. But as I often do, when I was thinking about this sermon topic, I asked myself, how do I know I'm a sinner? How do I know that I'm worthy? Where's my proof? That's the rational background coming up there. I can't just get up there on Sunday and say, you are a sinner, you are loved. I mean, I guess I could, I just did. But the me listening to the sermon wants the me presenting the sermon to give a little bit more. Like, back that up a little. Don't just say it, back it up. Because you told me to be critical, and now I'm being critical. So back it up. So where does this come from? What about, it's in the Bible, or take it on faith? Those arguments don't really hold much water for me. Slavery, misogyny, and child sacrifice are also in the Bible, and I'm not really into those. Taking it on faith can be said for anything at all with no really backing. So how then? How do I know? How do I feel it in my bones that we are all good and we are all bad? Do I? Do I know this? Well, I thought about it. I prayed about it. I studied. And I came to a conclusion. A conclusion not to back up what I already believed, but a conclusion which I saw as the previously hidden rationale. The previously hidden rationale behind my belief. The proof that humans are bad and good is in our potential. I look at humankind, and I see this again and again, through religious text, through history, in national news, in my personal interactions, in my inmost thoughts and desires. Human beings have amazing potential for great pain, for great evil. Human beings have amazing potential for great healing and good. I mean, do I even need to give examples? Humankind has created all the wars, the racism, genocide that has ever happened. That was us. Every single one. Humankind has also created all the hospitals, the nonprofits, and the art that has ever existed. That was us. We are able to hate, to manipulate, to harm ourselves, to harm others. And we are able to love, to support, to heal ourselves and others. This I see maybe not as reason, but as definitely part of the proof that we are both damned and blessed, that we are both bad and good. We have such great potential for great harm, for selfishness, for hatred, for death, and potential for great beauty, awe, and love. We can create our own reality with what we do. The potential to create evil, to build up walls, to break down bridges. That's our sin. Our redemption, the way out of sin, comes in knowing that we have great potential for love. We have great potential for love, too. Love even to the utmost, to build up bridges and break down walls. Both of these potentials, and get a little Christian here, don't be offended. Both of these potentials are spoken to in the story of Jesus and the message that he brought. Jesus taught love. Jesus and his followers, in both individual and organizational ways, showed us the loving potential. He spoke to the people that the kingdom of God, in his words, the kingdom of love, in my words, was possible. It was possible here on earth. What a loving guide we have been shown. What a loving guide. Sit down with those you disagree with. Sit down with them. Have a meal with them. Invite to dinner the beggar on the street, the prostitute, the tax collector, the politician, the unclean, the unkind, the unloved. Invite them over. Love them. Acknowledge their wholeness and their humanness. Wow, such love. But then, what other potential do we see? The potential in humankind that Jesus was tortured and killed in one of the most heinous ways imaginable. He was whipped, beaten, derided, and nailed to a cross and left to die slowly and painfully. What a hateful guide we have been shown. Again, on individual and organizational levels, we are shown our human potential. Take by force that which you want. Give and receive bribes. Use violence and power to quell anything that is uncomfortable or disagreeable to you or your system. Oh, in Jesus' life and death, we see the stark contrast and the stark reality of our dualistic nature of evil and good, of sinner and Savior. That's just one example. Through history, we can see these two realities. There are times when humankind has been loving. There are times when humankind has not been loving. Not just globally, though. Think of your own life. Think of your own life. I know I have examples. In our personal lives, we can see these realities. There are times when I am loving. There are times when I am not loving. And remember these two disparate realities. You are a sinner. I am a sinner. You are loved. I am loved. You have potential for great harm. You have potential for great love. Remember those realities and let the knowledge free you and uplift you. You're not defined by the mistakes you make, the missteps you make. You are not defined by those faults. Through it all, you are worthy, you have value, and you are loved. Look at the potential from our reading today. Anne Frank, put to death at the age of 15 because of her religion. We have so much potential for hate and violence, but through her words, Anne challenges us. Oh, she challenges us. In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. I simply can't build up my hopes on a foundation consisting of confusion, misery, and death. I see the world gradually being turned into a wilderness. I hear the ever-approaching thunder, which will destroy us too, and I feel the sufferings of millions. And yet, if I look up into the heavens, I think that it will come out all right, that this cruelty too will end, and that peace and tranquility will return again. In the meantime, I must uphold my ideals, for perhaps the time will come when I shall be able to carry them out. Yours, Anne. We are not perfect. And we are holy, we are loved, we are worthy. You are not perfect. You will mess up. You will go against your true self. You will make mistakes. You will mindfully do that which is harmful to yourself or to someone else. And you can love. You can care. You can heal. You can uphold your ideals. You are amazing. You are holy. You are divine. You are worthy, and you are loved. Always. Amen.
As usual, at this point in our service every Sunday, we ask you to make a contribution to support the ongoing life and ministry of our congregation. We still find ourselves in unusual times. First, the church was closed, like the rest of the world due to COVID, turning to only online services, and now to a hybrid, a combination of streaming and in-person services. Last Sunday, worship associate Idris Harrow encouraged you to come back in person. I reiterate her invitation. It feels so good to walk back in this sanctuary. And it has been wonderful to be able to attend services online at home in our very casual attire while we ate breakfast. But it was 56 years ago that Robert and I walked into this space to attend a memorial service. We immediately knew we had found our spiritual home. Went on to have 2 children whom we raised in this church, who embraced our UU values and now have their own respective UU communities. One of my greatest joys is to hear our 2 grandchildren articulate their UU values as they talk about challenging social issues. We are so grateful for the ongoing opportunities over the years for us to continue to grow in our spirituality. Grateful to the church staff and lay leaders for their leadership and support to keep things going, especially during these past 2 years. And to do that, they need our resources. Please, on the side of your screen, you will see the 4 ways that you can give. Those of you here in person in the church can leave a check or cash in the box at the back of the church. You could mail a check to the church at the Halsted Street address. Go online to firstuuwilm.org and click on the donation page. Or use the Vanco Mobile Faith Engagement app and make your donation. Thank you for your generosity. Now, please join me in dedicating our offering. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these, our offerings. Linda, your music was just lovely this morning. Thank you for finding those for us. Our closing words are by Reverend Andrew Pakula. He says, as you prepare to leave this sacred space, pack away a piece of this church in your heart. Wrap it carefully like a precious gem. Carry it with you through the joys and sorrows of your days. Let its gentle glow strengthen you, warm you, remind you of all that is good and true until you gather here again in the presence, in this place of love. If you have lit a chalice at home, I invite you now to extinguish it while I offer these words by Robin Gray. The flame is extinguished, but not our hope for the future, our courage in the face of crisis, or the love we share in all the world. Now please join in singing our closing hymn, 118, This Little Light of Mine.